Manitoba went right down to the wire.
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Bomber video. Oh my God. Wow. I was not expecting that. I don't know if you guys follow and subscribe to Canadian Football Central, please do. Link to that in the description below. I did my weekly preview and I didn't see it. I didn't see a situation where the Bombers were winning. I'm like, man, they got 4 or 5 days rest, something like that. Not much. Injury situation got even worse. Neufeld out, Waltarski out. BC's well rested. It's not looking good. You know what I mean? I don't know what happened, but Winnipeg just completely turned around and BC completely turned off. Just crazy, but we'll get right into it, including with the pregame, which is, of course, the return of Lucky Whitehead. Very, very nice to see Lucky Whitehead back in the blue and gold. It was very much a awesome moment. Everyone was excited, and there'd be tons more to be excited about when it came to Lucky Whitehead tonight. So it was Armed Forces Appreciation Night, so that's why the Bomber logo on the thumbnail has kind of like the army green in it. And so they had some cool presentations for the Armed Forces, and so I thought that was awesome. Always love when they do the Armed Force Appreciation Night. Tons of respect for all those involved in that, and my appreciation goes out to them. So let's get into this game. First quarter, BC goes 3 and out immediately. The Bombers would then go on a drive of their own. They go 3 and out and follow, and it would just be followed by an awful punt by Sheehan. I'm not going to lie, Sheehan had a rough night. Now, to be fair, he didn't have to do a ton of work tonight when it got later into this game. Or I shouldn't say he didn't have a ton of work to do. There's a decent amount. It's not like we got overwhelming offense all the time, but yeah, he had I think 2 punts that were pretty not great. But this one was one of them. Just doesn't go great. It would go back and forth a bit, and then there would be a no yards penalty against BC. However, upon review, it is revoked, and so the Bombers would go onto offense. Bombers would kind of push a little bit. They go offside and third down, so time to punt. Back and forth a bit more. Again, boring game. This is all I have written down at this point. There's really just not much going on. There'd be an illegal contact penalty on Devin Adams. It looked like this was after the play. That flag went really, really late. Not exactly sure, though. Come on, guys. Stop with some of the dumb penalties. I didn't have them all written down, but there was a lot of... If there's anything I can nitpick tonight, it was just the amount of penalties we took, whether that was offside, whether that was procedure. We got really close to almost getting time count violations multiple times. And I'm not just talking about late in the game where we're intentionally running the clock. I'm talking earlier where O'Shea had to play some timeouts and whatnot. But what is something that would be very, very useful? I would say it's a Terrell Ford interception. Terrell Ford, his second straight game with a pick for the Bombers, and the Bombers would then push it all the way down, and Sergio Castillo hits a 37-yard field goal, making this 3-0 Winnipeg. BC then goes on their drive. They get absolutely nowhere. They punt. Bombers then continue back up the field, and there will be a big pass for Ontario Wilson to be the end of the first quarter. So overall, finished first quarter, 3-0 Bombers. Shut them out one quarter. Good stuff. Always good when you can make the other team get a big fat donut in one of those quarters. Really, really helps you, even if you're only able to put up 3 points. Good defense is very, very useful. Unfortunately, this would be, unless you're a Bomber fan, this is going to be a boring game to watch on TV. My goodness. Obviously, I loved it as a Bomber fan. There's nothing I can really complain about. But as a football fan, if this was two teams I didn't care about, man, I would be changing the channel. Seriously, this was boring. But then The second quarter gets underway, and Streveler would get it in for short yardage. Bombers continue up. Lucky Whitehead gets a first down. Josh Johnson gets a first down. Then Streveler goes for it on 3rd and 1 and comes up short. Now, at this point, there were so many people just looking back to that play of last week and all this and that. However, there's one thing I have noticed a little bit about the short yardage plays, and it looks like they kind of fixed this later in the game. Streveler always goes wide in the sense of when he gets it, he'll never punch that straight up the middle. He'll always try maybe go like 3 or 4 yards to the left or to the right and then punch it through there, which has worked all season long. The problem is that BC is a team that their defense just, over the course of the year has been pretty decent. And they watched film on the Bombers to prepare for this game, as football teams do. Almost every single short yardage. I'm sure they saw Streveler do that. Because the thing is that I don't know if you guys watch this. Look closely at that play again, where Streveler gets denied in short yardage in the second quarter. And when Streveler goes wide, about 3 Lions players follow him and track him because they know the play's coming. And they get right on him and they prevent him from getting that first down. So overall, that was just a good play on the BC defense. But I was just like, you know what? I think we got to mix it up just a little bit too predictable. Not saying Streveler can't go for it on 3rd and 1. I think he absolutely can. Just don't do the same play every play. Otherwise, your defense is going to be cheating. And of course they are, because they know what the play is going to be. So just something to take into account. The Lions would drive it down a little bit. Really doesn't get much of anywhere. And I would say drive it down a little bit, I mean 3 and out and get a really deep punt. Their punter was incredible tonight in terms of getting really, really deep punts and forcing the Bombers to drive the field. And they do. And they drive it to about halfway. And then Sergio Castillo, he does it again. 60 yards.
He's gonna get it.
Come on, Sergio.
Boom.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Oh yeah! Oh, 60 yards! Ties its own record! Wow! That is right. Holy shit, you heard me. 6-0 Bombers. Sergio Castillo hits his second 60-yard field goal, tying his Bomber record of longest field goal in club history with 60 yards. He now has 2 of them in the same season. And Sergio Castillo is now the first ever CFL kicker to record multiple 60-plus yard field goals. And he did it in all in the same season. Seriously, Castillo, and I'm in the end zone, by the way, where that ball goes through. If Castillo was 1 yard, 2 yards, up to 3 yards back, I think, he still hits that. He had enough height and enough power where if he was that far back, he would have hit it. Keep in mind, league record in the CFL, 61 yards. So I'm saying is that the only reason this isn't a record-breaking kick is because the Bombers weren't 1 to 2 to 3 yards back. So just an incredible effort by Sergio Castillo. And man, I mean, what more can I ask for? Because I mean, like the BC Lions, they would now kind of go onto their offense. But we would finally get something going with Devin Adams getting a sack on the play.
Get to him! Get to him! Get that fucker! Yeah! Devin Adams with the sack! Woo!
Devin Adams with the sack, all that sort of good stuff. BC forced to then punt. They would then take a no yards penalty on the Bombers' return. Bombers push the field, and Nick Dembski would get his first catch of the game. And I don't know if Dembski saw my video or saw all the comments online, or honestly, he probably didn't even need to. I'm sure he was frustrated about his performance in prior games. Nick Dembski learned. I'm so glad. And it was kind of funny because he would get the ball, and the second he'd see any sort of player in his vicinity, it would just be... And it was both arms on that ball to not let it loose. You can tell that this was like, this man had seen a ghost. However, it's one of those things, it seems silly. It seems funny in terms of him being overprotective. I love it. Awesome. I don't care. If you have to be overprotective of the ball, do it. Because at the end of the day, as long as you don't fumble and you get the first down, who cares? Seriously. So I'm going to say this right now. Nick Dembski redeemed himself tonight. Loved Nick Dembski tonight. Was he thrown to a ton? No. But Nick Dembski went through the extra effort to ensure every time that ball was in his hands that ball was not coming out. And it absolutely showed. And so you know what? I said Nick Dembski, you know what? He deserved to be benched for this game. Did he deserve it? Honestly, probably. I still don't think I was wrong. However, I am glad to see that he's learned from that. Glad. Because Nick Dembski is an awesome receiver. And what we saw tonight was an awesome receiver. Even though he wasn't getting thrown to as much as Ontario Wilson and even Lucky Whitehead, he was getting quite a bit tonight. I was so happy to see Dembski really, really making sure he learned from his mistakes and moving that forward, because that's what the Bombers need to do. And I was just so excited about it. It's funny. I was laughing because I thought it was funny, but I was very excited to see that. There would be an illegal contact penalty against the BC Lions. The Bombers would get going, and Lucky Whitehead, man, the script writers on this one, would get the first touchdown of the game for Winnipeg. Lucky Whitehead, in his return to the blue and gold, gets the touchdown. Absolutely love to see it. Conversion is good. 13-0 Winnipeg. And then the whole D-line on the pretty much on the very next drive for BC would completely swarm Vern Adams Jr. and get themselves all collective sack. I'm not even sure who got that sack, actually, to be completely frank. But it was a collective effort. Our D-line was fantastic tonight. D-line was awesome. Defense as a whole was great. Evan Holm with a great performance. Terrell Ford with a great performance. Dietrich Nichols was doing a lot. Adam Bighill was doing a lot. That whole D-line core, I was very, very, very pleased with the defense as a whole. And I understand that BC also made tons of errors offensively, which contributed to the Bombers' defense looking great. But I'm not going to let that take away any of the credit from the Bombers' defense, and that they were rock solid tonight. Seriously. I mean, they shut out what was ranked the number one team in the West. Shut out. 0 points. Not one donut, not one quarter of nothing. 4 quarters, whole game. Wow. This is the best first half of the season for us at this point. I'm just completely in shock and awe and in love of what I'm seeing. This is just incredible. So we go through halftime. Let's get into the third quarter. Sheehan has another bad punt after we go 3 and out. And then BC would get push in the field a little bit. I think they maybe get 1 first down on this play. And we'll get to their lack of first downs later on in this video. We'll get to it. You'll see. And they go for probably one of the most creative fakes I've seen on a field goal, where essentially the ball comes back, and instead of running straight at it, he kicks that ball onto the side as just before they snap the ball, 2 guys go wide in hoping to catch it and get a first down and keep the drive going for BC. Was BC in Sean White's kicking range? Absolutely. They totally were. However, this is one of those things where BC they were starting to kind of get desperate to get on the board. And so that's what they did. And so the Bombers would then get that. It'd be a first down, as they didn't get what they needed to. I think the Bombers actually picked that off. And so the Bombers would get going, and there would be a huge pass for Ontario Wilson. Huge pass for Ontario Wilson. Love to see it. Glad to see him back in form and having a good game. And I was so glad. The whole receiving corps, we're not dropping balls. Holy crap. The wonders when we don't drop it. My goodness. Just awesome, awesome stuff. Streveler would come in and he would go for a few reps. And this, again, it's one of those things where I am almost positive they don't watch any of these videos. However, they're starting to do the things that I'm saying. As one of the things I said was I'd love to see times where we keep Streveler in a bit and have him and Oliveira. Because handing it off to Oliveira on first down and having him run with it is just so damn predictable. It's something the Bombers do. It's very predictable. To be fair, it works a lot of the time, but it's predictable. If you can be a little unpredictable, you can get even more yards out of that. And so when you have Strevler and Oliveira on the field, you're keeping the BC Lions guessing in the sense that they know it's going to be a run play. Even if Collaros is in on first down, they know it's going to most likely be a run play from the Bombers. However, when you have Strevler on the field, the question is who's running the ball? That's the question. And so by doing that, by faking handoffs to Oliveira, Oliveira is able to sell that handoff all that much more. And so it really, really helps Strevler then grab some yards. Or maybe they're able to do the opposite, where essentially he actually does hand it off to Oliveira, and Strevler draws some of that attention away, and Oliveira is able to punch that through. Love this trickery, and total props to Buck Pierce for implementing this into the offense. Chris Strevler is a tool you have. Use him. He's not just a short yardage quarterback. He is more than that. He is awesome, and there's so much usage you can get out of him, and I'm glad to see that we did that this game. I want to see that continue. Castillo then hits a 32-yard field goal, making it 16-zip Winnipeg. Now, at this point, Vernon Adams Jr., he's going for some long balls on first and second down. Like, they are getting desperate. BC absolutely desperate for offense. And honestly, I can't blame them. If I was a Lions fan, if the Lions were my team, yeah, I'd be desperate. I can't blame them. And so, unfortunately for them, they're just not able to get anything going. Whether it's Vernon Adams Jr.'s passes being slightly off, receivers not running their routes properly, just good defense by the Bombers, BC just can't get anything going. And that extends to their O-line, who just didn't have the greatest performance tonight. And to tack that off, Adam Bighill would give himself a sack.
Get to him, Jay Thomas! Yeah!
Adam Bighill with the sack. Excellent, excellent stuff. Bombers would then start pushing again when they get back on offense. Passing game is on point tonight. And then Castillo makes that 51-yard field goal look sure as shit easy. 19-0 Winnipeg. Now, an interesting thing happens here. As after a field goal, you can obviously elect to take it on the 40-yard line. However, BC actually opts for the kickoff instead of taking it on the 40-yard line. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, they are desperate for a good return. However, for all the film they watched, obviously it doesn't seem like they watched any film of special teams last week between Winnipeg and Toronto, as that was one of the few shining lights in a sea of shit. It was the performance of the special teams coverage on Janarian Grant. Janarian Grant right now is the best returner in the CFL, and he struggled to get 10 yards on special teams with the Bombers' downfield coverage. For all the problems, for all the stuff that they did wrong in that game, their downfield coverage of Janarian Grant was downright fantastic. And it was one of those things where the Bombers, they just kept pushing, and they were able to ensure that this just wouldn't work out for BC. And they would get a penalty on this play. I'm not sure exactly what the penalty was. They started at the 19-yard line, though. They wouldn't even get halfway to that 40. So just they took a gamble, didn't work. Because, again, they're just trying for anything. They're throwing everything at the wall and hoping for something to stick, and that's what you have to do when you're in that position. Vernon Adams Jr. at this point is just now starting to just completely miss throws. Times when it looks like he's missing throws, but then there's also times where he's just getting so much pressure that he just has to get that ball out. He's not able to get to his receivers. Just that connection is just being severed. It's just not there. The Bombers would then go back onto their offense, though. The injury spotter would then pull Ontario Wilson off. However, shortly afterwards, BC would take a defensive pass interference, first down Bombers. We now go into the fourth quarter. Again, I'm thinking, we still have a shutout? Like, are you kidding me? This is the Lions. Like, how are we doing this right now? I don't understand it. Fourth quarter starts, and Liam Dobson takes a holding penalty. A little bit frustrating. However, BC would go offside, which would allow us to get some of that yardage back. And then on third down, Castillo hits a 35-yard field goal, making this 22-zip Winnipeg. And then Vernon Adams Jr. would then go, and he would make a nice throw and get a first down. And I looked and I was like, wait a minute. This is their third first down of the night. We're like 5 minutes into the fourth quarter. There's more quarters of football being played than first downs that BC has gotten. Like, that's just baffles me like crazy. I do not understand it. And the Bombers' pressure would continue as Garbutt would get a fantastic sack.
Get to him! Yeah! Woo! Another sack! Woo!
Now, unfortunately for this play, Vernon Adams Jr. would get hurt. And I'm just thinking, man, like BC's luck is just... It is just yikes. It's bad. It's bad. And so, first of all, the hit by Garbutt, it's a clean hit. It is. However, I do hope Vernon Adams Jr. is okay. I don't wish any ill will upon anyone. And I hate seeing guys go down. It's one of those things where I would have loved if we would have been able to play against Vernon Adams Jr. the whole way through and that he didn't get injured. And it has nothing to do with performance, just from a pure humanity, moral sense. I don't wish that upon him. So, from what I've heard, his injury shouldn't be too major. I don't think he'll necessarily be on the 6th game. It looks like he's going to be week to week. I'm in a group chat with with a bunch of other people, and I believe it was Edom Raw, the Edom Raw Ticats podcast, that had mentioned that. So if anyone's out there that can confirm that, it looks like Vernon Adams Jr. is week to week and not a serious long-term injury, which is at least good news for BC. So at this point, Jake Dolegala is going in for BC. Bomber fans obviously remember Dolegala from Saskatchewan, and for that he was able to get the win against them in the Labor Day Classic. So Bombers got a reputation to uphold against this quarterback, or a reputation to change, I guess I would say. And so BC would then go for it on 3rd and 7. Can't get anything though. Turnover on downs. And then Brady Oliveira would follow that great defensive play up with a great offensive play of his own. Big run for Brady Oliveira.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Brady Oliveira! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Oliveira was fantastic tonight. He showed why he's leading the league in rushing yards, despite being on a team that really has not performed that well. And I will say, man, so Bo Levi Mitchell takes the top spot in passing yards after this week, surely, right? Like, maybe I'm wrong, but it's not looking great for them. There'd be another Bombers first down, and at this point, I look at the screen and I see BC has 3 first downs. Winnipeg has 20. I know they finished the game with at least 22. I need to check the stat line again, but at this point, I'm just thinking like this is insane. I am like, I am not on this earth. I am somewhere else. I don't know what's going on. Sergio Castillo hits the 11-yard field goal, 25-0 Winnipeg, and at this point, that's game.
They are putting themselves out of the misery. Wow! Oh my God! Shut out! Shut out! Wow!
What do I even need to say about this game? Like, this game does a few things. Number one, it confirms the suspicion, like, because I wondered the idea, is Zach Calera's washed? Of course. I think most Bomber fans have. I think this game, though, confirms that the problem was that those receivers weren't catching the ball. They weren't. And now it's funny because the offensive line had an okay game. And what I mean by that is that Calera's got hit a few times. But BC's defense is supposed to be one of the better defenses in the league. So it is what it is. He was okay though, which is good to see. Too many penalties. Wasn't pleased with the amount of penalties, but defensively, I mean, what the hell more can I ask? Sack after sack after sack. Jefferson got a knockdown. I think it's now number 71 of his career. I don't know, some crazy number. Like he leads the CFL like all time or something with that. I don't know. It's crazy. And so, are we back? And man, Lucky Whitehead, man, it was so good seeing him in the blue and gold. It was one of those things. Lucky Whitehead was a favorite back when he was in Winnipeg. I don't know if you guys remember this, but when the Bombers went on, I'm trying to think of when it was. When the Bombers had, there was a game in Winnipeg, and Whitehead was still under contract with BC. He actually, though, when the Bombers were going on a bit of a run, put on a Bomber jersey and came and just hung out with some of the fans of Winnipeg, just because of, and the fact that, Lucky Whitehead knows he's always welcome here. And so it was such a nice thing to see. Lucky Whitehead has always been incredibly kind with the fans. I even remember when he got that touchdown tonight, he came up and he was celebrating right with all the fans. He came there before the game and signed some stuff for like a little girl in the front row. Like, it's just an incredible class act, the exact kind of people that we want in our program. And so he's a fan favorite, and so glad to see him. And you know what? It was one of those things where Lucky Whitehead, are we aware that this is not the 200 yards receiver a game that he was the kind of those first year or two in BC? We know that that's not where he's at, but it's one of those things where it seems like he's kind of settled into a good role with the Bombers receiving corps for now. And so it worked tonight, and so I hope to see it work more nights. So all in all, there's really nothing I can complain about with this game. Just the few little nitpicks here and there. But we won 25-0 today, folks. Seriously, we shut out the Lions. It's time to get this. It's time to take control of our season again. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy right now. And, all we can do now is just hope for the stuff to go in our favor for this weekend. So if I'm actually looking at the schedule here, I'm going to bring up the schedule. We're going to hope that Toronto gets a win because we are right now trying to catch up with Calgary. Calgary's 3-4. We are 3-6. So if Calgary drops down to 3-5, be real convenient with us. Good news for us, again, we hold the tiebreaker with Calgary, but despite some not the best performances, we do hold that tiebreaker against them. That now feels more important than ever. Hamilton versus Montreal, don't really care who wins. Edmonton versus Saskatchewan. I always got to hope for whoever's playing Saskatchewan to beat Saskatchewan. I can't ever cheer for Saskatchewan, no matter if it's helpful or not for the Bombers. Even though Edmonton winning does help the Bombers. So all in all, thrilled with tonight's game and just hope that we get to see that continue because we need that to continue. So overall, want to know your guys' thoughts on the game. Make sure you guys comment that down below in the description. Make sure you guys leave a like if you haven't already. If you guys are looking for more CFL content, Canadian Football Central, all that sort of stuff, league-wide on there. We're going to probably next week, I think we're hoping to do some mid-season report cards for some of the teams. Going to have some guests on for that, whether that's Bombers, whether that's Elks, whether that's Alouettes, Argonauts, Lions, whatever your team is. We're going to be covering all that sort of stuff. So make sure you guys check that out on Canadian Football Central. Link to that in the description below. And I will see you guys next time.
Can they take the lead on this drive?